Good morning, High Five Nation. We're back. We're going to come back to the show today. We've got a couple shows next week, but we've got a lot of things to celebrate. There's a lot of weird things going on in this world. But let me tell you, last night while I was typing some things up, I was sitting on a chair about 20 feet from where I was, and I was watching live action baseball that counted. And well, the teams I was cheering for probably didn't win because there was no win in the game, but the Cubs are playing later today. We're going to have all this and so much more fun here on the High Five. Let's get it going.
The time has come, the questions are said, opinions hide, discussions are led, a show about nothing and everything, it's all the same. We've got sports, entertainment, sales, and marketing. It's time for the High Five. We've got it all covered. It's time for the High Five. We've got it all covered. Yeah. The High Five.
All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm not Brian Linke. That's not a good thing. Let's put me over here and let me bring over... I am not. Let me get the right screen up here on the left-hand side of the screen. The man, the myth, the legend, the one who is in Winona Lake, Indiana. We're in Warsaw, Indiana, ruling the roost up there in Kosciuszko County, making sure everybody's wearing their masks. He stands outside Kroger yelling at anyone who's not wearing their mask. Mr. Brian Linke, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Nate. And no, that is not me who's yelling at people to not wear the mask. But... you know, again, the way I look at it is, and I see these people like, you know, getting in fights and they won't wear the mask and they're screaming. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, where we are right now, wear the mask. That's it. That's the rule. Wear the mask.
That is.
I don't like it because let me tell you, have you looked at my face? Let me tell you something. It's pretty. Right, it is a pretty.
Oh man, I mean, I had to go full screen on you just to make sure we see all your face.
Here's the thing: it's the best thing I got. So, like, for me to cover it is like ridiculous. But those are the rules. Wear the mask for as long as we have to wear the mask, and hopefully, we won't have to wear the mask all that long.
Well,
that's the rule.
Yeah. And I will say this as I try my 3-shot. Let me go. I need to go this way. Everybody's got to center themselves. Who knows? But. The Brian Linke rules are this: that you wear the mask and show your belly. I mean, that's just really what the rule is, right? Because
I like that. I like that. And I do like that.
All right. So now on the far left of the screen now, as he is from Glenwood Springs, Colorado, who has been watching the golf courses and seeing people pull out and he of the PGA Tour and thinking, man, my shot and my opportunity is coming. He is going to continue getting better and make sure that he is a -7 handicap. So he next year will be playing in the Memorial and he too can play on the new greens that Jack Nicklaus is putting together. Mr. Danny Shard, how are you?
I'm good. It's good to be back on the High Five, Nate. Thank you. And I think a little bit different of the mask situation. You know, I'm an advocate for it because any chance I get to cover up this ugly mug, I'm going to do it. So where Brian, you know, doesn't want to cover up his pretty face, I'm cool to cover up my ugly face. That's cool.
And I talked to Michael Thomas yesterday, and he loves the whole mask thing because he loves the anonymity of it. He said he loves like walking into places where like nobody can tell who he is. I'm like, okay. I guess that's one way to look at it.
It is. It is.
Well, he has actually changed his name one more time. His name is now Juan Felipe. Or something. I don't know what his name is, but I was just thinking. I mean, he's like, "Hey, I can be anybody I want to be. I've got a mask on. You don't know who I am. I'm a new person.
Right.
Everything's all new."
It's Halloween every single day.
Yep. Well, it's good to be back. We're going to be talking about some things when it comes to how to better and continue to grow yourself in the payments industry and grow your business and be entrepreneurial. But we really need to start out with one thing. Not only are we back, but tonight at 7 o'clock, I think Eastern time on ESPN Nationwide, the man of the friendly confines will be able to fly the W in Chicago. We're back. Baseball is back. It's actual. Yesterday, I haven't watched any of the NBA games, or there's some highlights, but there is literally NBA games that are going on. Gentlemen, are we excited about sports being in reality? We have a few tests. I mean, Juan Soto goes out just before the Nationals game and is going to be gone for a little while. It's a new world, but we got games and they're playing them and they count for something.
Okay. You know, sure. You know what? I actually forgot that the Yankees Nationals were on last night. It was 7:30, and I'm like, oh man, the game already started, and Scherzer was pitching, and so I turned it on, but I'm not sure why. Like, I just couldn't get. I mean, there was a rain. It rained the game out in the sixth inning, and but I'm just not sure why I couldn't get into it. I think as we continue this. You know, I'm looking forward to somehow, I don't know, I got to figure out how to watch the Cubs tonight because they changed the whole thing. But
I think you're good on ESPN. I don't think there's any blackout rule tonight, so I think you're good for tonight. It's when it goes to marquee. Yeah. So.
Well, you know, and again, I just think that it's going to be a slow process, especially for me, the guy who, you know, I mean, that's all I would do. I mean, the Cubs are on in my house every single night. Okay. I mean, there's the summertime. Cubs are on every night. If I'm not at Wrigley, then the Cubs are on in my house. So yeah, I think that last night was definitely a weird feeling for me, just seeing no fans in the stands. And my wife was telling me about, like, you can get an app where you can like cheer and boo and it comes through the screen. I'm like, okay, really? I don't know. I guess you can go to Buffalo Wild Wings and that's what they do. They pipe in the cheering and the booing. Like, okay, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but anyway, yes, there's definitely a little bit of excitement. I think it'll start growing. I like the whole format of the playoffs with the 16 teams. I think that's a pretty cool thing. And you know, any tournament. I'm a big tournament guy. I like it. So the more teams, the better.
So, Danny, did you watch the West Coast game last night, the Dodgers? I thought was awesome. I was watching the end of the Nationals game. It's pouring rain, like epic floods just coming in 2 feet or like up to their knees in the dugouts of this rain. And then they flash to Chavez Ravine, and it is like heavenly in the Dodger world out there. And the Dodgers are coming out, and they, just signed their man for like $6 billion, and they're getting ready to play. But they had all the fake cardboard cutouts behind the dugout, which some of the teams are doing, or not the dugout, behind the home plate. What'd you think? That you could buy?
It was hilarious. I
think it was $299. They said. I'm like, oh, that's close. I mean, that's close to like disposable income, like just to like think about throwing a face up there. What are the rules here? I mean, come on.
It was hilarious. My brother and I were watching it actually, and yeah, it was cool. I loved just watching baseball again. Right. The Dodgers had this big flying red tomato haircut of a guy. I don't know if you saw the big red hair on the Dodgers pitcher, but I can't even remember his name. But
May is his name. Yeah.
Just watching baseball. I mean, it was awesome, but it was way different, right? Just not hearing the crowd noise. I mean, of course, baseball has amazing sounds, right? And you could hear everything. But it was weird without the crowd, for sure. And I'm sure it was even weird for the players. But it was crazy seeing the cardboard cutouts and things like that. The Astros, I think they've had a record for players hit by pitch on Monday when they just completely jumped over the Royals 15 to 6. and then they play the Mariners on a 3-game stretch starting tonight at home. I'm excited. I mean, it's 60-game season. I'd love to see the Cubs or the Stros win a World Series in 2020. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I am so ready for it. It's just fun to have something to watch, and I think it's so you guys know I now I'm past my quarantine time of being in Florida. I was in Florida for 2 weeks and kind of quarantined myself away because I was in the hotbed states, but not in the hotbed counties. I made sure that, but I did go to Disney and was on the Disney properties, not to the parks, but to a resort. And what I noticed was this: if you are Disney, and because we were over at like the Floridian where the NBA players were showing up, the Grand Floridian. And if you are not we weren't staying there, but we were watching as people were coming in. I didn't see any of the players, but I heard they were around. If you can't do the bubble the way they're doing it and be safe, then we're all in trouble. Because and so the thing is they're groups now, these teams, these players, they're coaching us back to how do we live life now. Soto gets a positive test. He may be asymptomatic for the rest of the time, but he's got to get 2 negative tests to come back. And he's got to have the availability of those tests. And what they're having happen for MLB, for NBA, NHL, for all these guys, now it's time for all of us to get access to this because we don't want to have shut down. Yesterday in our great state of Indiana, the governor started rolling some things back. And here in our city of Indianapolis, our mayor shut down our bars again. And, everything is, the numbers are up. They just are. There certainly are. And the beds are more full. And so now is time to become vigilant and just try to figure this doggone thing out. And instead of just continuing fighting about things, every day do one thing that keeps you safer and keeps someone safer around you. That's my challenge. All right. But I'm so glad baseball's back. And I'm really looking forward to having basketball. I mean, next week, I think at the end of the week, when all the leagues will be back in, they'll be like next Saturday, I think it is. There's one day when it all shows back up. And everything is playing. I think that's going to be a fun experience. Brian's going to maybe remember the teams are playing. Maybe.
No, absolutely. No. I'm the biggest sports guy there is. It's just, it's just hard for me to believe that I'm living in this day and age where like this is actually happening. I'm still struggling with it, but it is what it is, and this is where we are. And wear a mask and, get Hulu TV live, whatever we have to do, Nate, to watch the Cubs, and let's move on.
And I think the Cubs, to my knowledge, right, because Mike Stetchel just chatted in that the White Sox cutouts were only $49. I don't think the Cubs chose not to do any cutouts, to my memory. I haven't seen any headlines about that because some were choosing it, some were not. But if they're only $49 for the White Sox, one, that's why I'm not a White Sox fan. Two, now that's true. That's like I'm just giving up my pizza tonight and gonna get a picture of Danny Shard with the thumbs ups going. Hey,
I'm surprised they're even charging $49 for it. I gotta say though, I do like just every industry is pivoting, right, and trying to figure out how to make something work this year. And obviously we're seeing a lot of that in the payment processing space. A lot of our partners, a lot of merchants are pivoting and trying to adjust to customers and keep the business going. And we're seeing that like at the sports level, right? I mean, they're literally 60-game season. I agree with Brian. I love the playoff bracket type of setup that they're going to be doing. I mean, it's cool to see people adjusting to try to get some normalcy back to our existence here. But I agree with Brian too. It's tough to get into it right now just because it's been a while since it's been off. And yeah. I want to see Brian get passionate again about sports. I hate seeing him not excited about something like this, and we need Linky back passionate about sports and all.
Yeah, and I think it'll come. I think it's just it was such a disappointment, like when they shut everything down, and like you just couldn't believe the fact that is baseball, are they really not going to play? And, you remember Mark Cuban's face when he got the text that the NBA was shutting down. I mean, people were just, they were just like in shock almost. And, and then it settled in and it actually happened. And here we are, it's July 24th. And we played our first baseball game last time. And okay, really? I mean, really? So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a slow transition, but to trust me, the Cubs will be on tonight in my house, and they will be on every night in my house. So.
Yep, that is.
There you go.
We got to roll. It is. It's a different world, and every day it's about it choosing our attitude when we wake up. And for most of us, though, some of you who are watching us on Facebook right now, it's choosing just to not go on Facebook, because every time I go in there, I'm like, oh, geez, the world's coming to. No, we're gonna get our news. We're gonna make sure we're safe, and we're gonna make the best decisions we possibly can. We just got to move forward, and we're gonna advocate for all those who are have less opportunities here. So as we go into that, let's get into a real question about a little bit of business. So I have a question here. Our young man here, he asked a question. He says, Danny, Brian, you guys are incredible salespeople. And I don't think there's a wrong answer to this, but if you are going to know something, do you want to know a little bit about everything? I phrased that terribly, know some about all. But are you going to know some about all? Or do you want to know a lot? You're going to deep dive into something a lot. Which are you? Are you a deep diver and going to know everything about a subject? Or you just want to be a jack of all trades and know a lot of things? And as a salesperson and a professional who walks in and calls and talks to new people about products that will help them, which do you think is most effective for you? I don't think there's a wrong answer. I'm just intrigued what you guys are going to say.
Well, let me just tell you something right now. Okay, I can tell you this. Okay, Danny Shard is the most knowledgeable person, and he's a jack of all trades. So he doesn't even have to answer the question, because he's that guy. Now, I will talk to you a little bit about what I do and who I am. And again, we all are from different decades, right? We've talked about it, and the whole technology thing for me, right? I mean, it's not growing up with anything has been, it's been a challenge for sure. But I think I've hung in there, and I think I know enough. But for any of you out there, and I'm just going to give PayProTech a little plug here, just because I can. I think that I am the guy who knows a little bit about everything, but I can tell you this: at PayProTech, for all of our partners that are listening, and our agents, obviously that are listening, we have. I say this to partners. I may not know the answer, okay, but I know everybody else who does. Okay, and at this company, okay, if you can't get an answer, you're just not trying, because we have people that pick up the phone, we have people that answer their emails, you just have to figure out how to do it. So I'm the guy who knows a little bit about just a little bit about a little bit. I mean, can we add that column in, Nate? A little bit about a little bit.
I'll see what I can do.
But you know what? Get yourself. And again, I just had this conversation with my youngest son who took a job in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I'm like, just get to know the people because he just started, who know everything. Okay. And lean on them. And if you do that, and again, here at PayProTech, we've got the relationship managers, we've got the coach, we've got partners at PayProTech, we've got the payments hub, we've got mypayprotech.com. I mean, if you're not, figuring it out and knowing, okay, then you're just not trying. You're just not trying. So that's my piece.
All right, Mr. Danny Shard, what say you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that, Brian. Although I learn something new every single day. Just ask some of our partners: Shannon Kane, Jerry Pierce, David and Kelsey, Amy. I mean, we all learn something new every day. This industry is fast moving, and there's so many different pieces to it. So, we're always learning together. My thought on it, especially for someone new, or even if you've got experience, is know or what were the options again? It's know a lot about a little, or know a little about a lot.
Yeah,
right? That's what it should be. Know a little about a lot, and just kind of know. And really, it's about know what's available, know what options you have, know kind of the different structures, and just kind of high level 5,000-foot view stuff, right? And then lean on support people to help you with a lot of the specifics, because what'll happen, and this is what I've been able to do over the last couple of decades almost in this industry, is just as I continue with it, I'm able to learn more and eventually become someone who knows quite a bit about most things. But there's still a lot to learn. So I think to start, just kind of jump in and don't try to master one or two things, because then you're going to kind of pigeonhole yourself and stay away from all the other moving pieces of the industry. Just kind of get a good feel for things, get a high level overview and just a basic understanding, if you will. And then you can take a deeper dive into each situation as it comes up.
Well, and
I mean, just like the POS pros, right? I mean, there's a perfect example of some guys. You need to get to know who Robert Kramer and Matt Proctor and those guys, and lean on them, and POSlead.com and the Deja Vu piece of it here with with Paul Kent and Billy West and Tim Callahan. I mean, there's so many people to support you at PayProTech. And that's the biggest recruiting tool I think that we have. To be honest with you, is the fact that the support that you get. And, I'm sure there's people out there right now thinking, well, nobody ever picks up the phone. Well, okay, the reason people don't pick up the phone is because they're on the phone, right? But there's other ways to get in touch with people, okay? And if anybody wants to know what they are, 574-376-2347 rings directly to my desk. I will have that conversation with you today.
And I will be posting that on the Reddit forums across the internet, so we get all some interesting
do.
conversations for Mr. Brian Linke.
Okay, what was that? 2-3 what? Maybe I transposed the numbers. I don't know.
That could be. Well, and I think, for me, it just depends. Some of this is personality driven, because I think there are those of us who are more, I don't know what the right term is. The negative term is anal, and like my personality is I don't like walking into a room and not knowing everything. So I will do all the preparation I can to make sure when I walk in the room that I know that I am the most knowledgeable person in the room. I'm just that arrogant of a person. And so I've had to learn to, at times, just swallow my pride and go in and go, hey, ask, listen, as Mr. Brian Linke will say often, I've got to listen. But if you're coming into this industry, and let's say you're focusing on law offices because you've been a paralegal for the last 5 years. I just talked to someone that's considering this and been thinking, hey, I could work with law offices. Well, then you become an expert in that area. Then you add something as you add a vertical. There's just different ways to do it. But I think realizing that there's not one way that fits all, but you have and surround yourself, because I think the thing you guys are saying is make sure you surround yourself with the smartest people around that you possibly can. And that's what we try to do here at PayProTech, and that's why I think our partners are successful, is because it's not just one person, but there's a dozen plus people that there is a very little knowledge base that you don't have when you need it. In fact, I can't think of anything. I mean, I
agree.
Other than maybe, IndyCar driving, but even that, we probably have someone in our spot that knows how to drive an IndyCar. I don't know. So, but
that would not be me.
That would not. All right, let's do another question here. Here's a question I was interested in your personality, guys. When you guys are setting goals for yourself, and there's two different strategies, but you can see over there the SMART goals. They always say they want to make them attainable, but I think that's a personality driven, because some people want to put their goals and make them something that they have to push themselves to the absolute limit, that there is nothing less than winning the championship in that to make that success. Or some who say, their personality, they'll feel the depression and the frustration of, if my goal was 10 and I only got 7, even though 7 was as good as I possibly could, I'm going to feel like I was a failure. For you guys, as you guys set goals and personal goals for yourselves, where are you at, and how have you grown in that, especially being in the payments industries where, some weeks you get a big fat goose egg, and then some weeks you have a record week and you're setting goals for yourself. So are you going over or under? How do you guys strategize with that?
That's a really good question. I think that the simple answer, if there is one, is I think you just kind of have to get out there and get a feel for it before you can actually set a goal, right? I mean, let's knock on 20 doors, or let's make 20 phone calls, or, is that a realistic thing? If the phone's ringing, or, so I think you just kind of have to feel out the situation. But, on a personal level, and Danny and I talked about it yesterday, as a matter of fact, and this is not a business thing, but when you're exercising, I think the biggest mistake, and I've said this for almost 58 years, is that people, the mistake that they make is that they go down and they get on the elliptical for 45 minutes and then they jump off and they're sweating and they get, they pick up the dumbbells and the barbells and they do the workout. Next thing you know, it's an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. And that's great. And well, look at Danny's raising his hand, right? That's a great thing, right? However, the problem is there's no way to sustain, there's no way to maintain that every single day. I mean, so if you're going to set that as your goal, let me tell you something, you better have a whole lot of free time. And most of us who, have a spouse and have kids and have a job and there's a lot more, going on, right? There's only 24 hours in a day. Hopefully you can sleep a couple of them. But so I just think that so I just figured it out and I'm just like, okay, you know what? If I can go a half an hour every single day, a half hour, that's it. Right. So I go down on my elliptical. I go 33 minutes. The only reason it's 33 is because it's 28 minutes. The cool down is 5. I don't use the cool down as a 5. I go through it. Right. So it's 33 minutes. As soon as it's over.
I just thought you were it's like Larry Bird. I mean, he's going Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen.
Well, as soon as it's over, okay, I shut the elliptical off. I wipe the equipment down. Okay. I turn off the light and I go upstairs. Right. Because I know that the next day I'll come down and it'll be weightlifting time. Okay. And I'll, my workout now is 30 minutes. That's it. 30 minutes. That way, like on the weekend, on Saturday or Sunday, when I want to go out to the pool, it's like, you know what? I have 30 minutes. Let me go in and do my push-ups and my sit-ups and okay. And then I'm out at the pool. Whereas, okay, it's an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. I'm telling you right now, you're not doing it. The sun's out. The water looks good. You want to get in it. Okay. You're like, you know what? Forget it. That's the thing. So I just think it's more of a realistic thing. And I think you just have to start doing it to figure out what it is you're going to, because, if you say, okay, I'm going to go hit 100 doors. Okay. No, you're not. No, you're not. Right. No, you're not. Back in the day when, you could actually hit 100 doors, and cold calling was a thing. Now it's a harder thing. Right now, it's a harder thing, although the internet makes some of that a little bit easier or a lot easier. But I just think you have to just know yourself, get out there, figure it out. What's a realistic thing and put it down on a piece of paper and stick to it. It's just me.
I mean, Danny, for you, because Brian did a great job challenging us, how do we set our goals for exercise? And how do you translate that into setting goals, professional goals, when you're like number of deals or number of contacts or, or just, I want to have my residual at this a month or this amount at the end of the year. How do you reconcile that? And how do you see some of our partners doing that as they're setting their own goals?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to, obviously, first of all, goal setting is one of the most important things you can do in your career, right? And you got to have something to drive for. Otherwise, you just kind of float through it, or it's easy to get complacent if you've kind of hit just a number and you're satisfied with it. And that's really what you want to avoid. I think it's important when you're setting goals to going along similar to what Brian was saying, but set goals that are attainable, but almost out of reach, right? That it's like, man, I'm going to have to hit a grand slam to get that, but I can get it, right? And it's not completely unrealistic. And that's what he's talking about with 100 doors, right? You're going to knock on 100 doors. No, you're not, right? Like, let's be realistic. Can you knock on 30? Gosh, I'm going to have to do probably 8 hours depending on how long my conversations are. But, I can get close and you'll hit 24, right? Or you'll hit 22 or 28, or maybe you do hit 30 once every now and then. But that's a goal that gets you like, man, it pushes you and it's attainable, but it's just almost out of reach and you got to work your tail off to get there. And I think that's the way that I've always approached my career and the goals that I set for myself on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And then just more specifically, like you were kind of hinting at, Nate, different things that you can focus on for a goal, right? Is it number of deals? Is it number of conversations? Is it a residual number? Is it volume? I think volume is probably one of the best goals that a partner can go after, and it's not looked at enough, right? Everybody's really focusing on new merchant accounts, minimizing or, zeroing out cancellations, attrition. But, volume is really really one of the main factors, and that's what's going to grow your portfolio. So I think some of our better partners will see that instead of focusing on the big number of deals, they'll focus on the better volume merchants and work on closing those merchants, because those are going to be longer term relationships and usually more profitable. So there's just so many different areas that you can set goals in, but I think it's important to set a goal that's, high mark to hit, but it's something that you can reach.
Well, the other thing is too is by doing that, putting a little bit of pressure on yourself is not necessarily a bad thing.
Absolutely.
You need to, I think you need to keep that in check, because if you don't, you'll end up in the insane asylum, right? Because you just you just put that much pressure on yourself. But and again, for example, Papertech, we had our best year in 2018, right? We didn't think that there's any way we could break that. Okay, well then all of a sudden 2019 came around and we beat 2018. Okay, well, it's like, all right, well, now 2020 came around and, the pandemic, a million things. And, but you know what, if you look at the numbers now, Dan, we had a record, 64 million in sales on Wednesday, which was a record. We're at, and I'm okay with sharing these numbers. Last 30 days, we've done 175 million, which is also a record. So, when Danny and I look at those numbers, it's like, okay, never in a million years do we ever think we were going to get there. And now that we're there, we want to go past it. Right. So we're putting the pressure. We're not staying complacent. You can't stay complacent, especially in sales. There's just no way. Right. And we're just, okay, it's at 175. We talked to Matt Hoskins yesterday. It's never been there. Okay, well, guess what? You know what? We want to hit 180, and then once we get to 180, we want 185, and then and so it never, as a competitor and as a salesperson, which is what a salesperson is, you're never going to be complacent.
Well, I think it's a blending of two coach strategies when it comes to goal setting. Jim Collins always had the BHAG, which I didn't really like it, but the big, hairy, audacious goal, I didn't like they calling something hairy. It just put the wrong picture in my mind. I'm just being honest. But the BHAG is that idea that's just out there that you got to go get. And, and it's something that, like you were saying, it's just out of your reach, and you've got to overachieve by most people's perspective, not hopefully your own, in order to reach it. But then I don't know which coach came from. Every coach thinks they've come up with this. But then there's that idea that today I'm just going to get 1% better, just 1%. I'm just going to improve. It's not a 5%. It's not 10%. 1%. I'm just going to do something that makes me better today, that moves my business forward, that makes me a better dad, that makes whatever those things are in your goals, your life, just 1% better. And it's a blending of those two things that make us successful as people. Because one of the things that struggle is, like, we go back, we spent all this time back, a couple months ago talking about The Last Dance. And the one of the things I thought about that is when you get done, when the only sign of success for you is the pinnacle and winning the championship, that's really depressing for the the 99.9% other people that will never achieve that. And so if that's your only mindset, that's a struggle. And we have to make sure that we're putting ourselves in a place that when we're reaching our goals, we're improving and we're growing, that we can have the grace just to look at each other and go, wow, we're doing pretty well. And success is not fully defined by being Jeff Bezos and making $13 billion in one day. It's defined by us just getting better and reaching toward those BHAGs, those goals. I love what you guys have said. Those are really good things.
Well, Nate, just to let you know, I came up with that 1% thing.
Okay. Well, see, I mean, it's why I didn't give it a credit, because I knew that you were probably the one, but I wasn't 100% sure. So by Coach Brian Linke, the coach of the Lions, you must get 1% better today. Just 1%. All right. We're going to do one more question. We're 30 minutes over. We go. I like that. But let's, I'm trying to choose. Let's do this one. So right now, I had several questions. You can see I just threw them up, but I'm only going to do this one. Training before you go out or just going out. And what I mean by this is this. When you're getting ready to go into a new industry or you see a new opportunity or a new venture, do you just put your one foot after the other and just start going and you learn by failure and by success mixed together? Or do you spend more time in the, virtual mental gym to make sure you're ready for as much as possible. And I think a lot of this is a very personality driven thing. But in the payments industry, where are you seeing people that are most successful, where they spend a little bit more time training and that makes them more successful when they hit the field, or they should just go out into the field or go find someone and just get out there and start talking to people, get on the phone, start emailing people, whatever, instead of sitting and watching training videos? How do you blend? How do you mix those two as we're looking to build ourselves as successful entrepreneurs?
I have this conversation every day, so I'm really glad you picked this topic, Nate, because it's something that I talk to partners about all the time, especially if they're either new to the industry or maybe it's been a while since they've been in merchant service sales, or they're obviously just getting familiar with new technology and cash discount or something like that, right? There's a lot of changes and maybe they haven't been able to stay up to date with everything that's going on. But of course, want to get out there and make sales, want to get out there and make money. And so it's kind of both ways, right? You got to have both. And going back to our previous topic of, knowing a lot about, or a little bit about a lot, right? And that's like, at least let me spend some time getting a little dangerous on some of these newer topics. Don't dive in head first and absorb yourself and take 3 weeks or whatever the number is to get fully trained in all these different things, because that's obviously going to hold you back from selling. If you have the financial backing to do that, then great. Most people do not, right? So they need to get out there, they need to start selling, they need to start making money. But you got to know a little bit first, right? You can't just completely dive in and start asking questions. Any good salesperson can go out there and just do that, but you're going to be quick to run into roadblocks and speed bumps in the conversation, and it's going to end up costing you business, which is okay at first, but you have to have a little bit geared up. You got to be armed a little bit before you go out there. So I think it's a little bit of both. Kind of get dangerous about quite a few things, high level stuff, but get out there, start having conversations, and don't be afraid to be confident and say, you know what, I'm not sure, but let me find out. And that's when you just lean on a team and get those answers that you're not sure about that you come across. So if you can know at least the foundation of stuff, it's going to really help you. And then you got to get out there and you got to learn.
All right, Brian Linke, I'm going to imagine in 19 blah, blah, in New York City, when you were first going out door to door and selling telecom, that you were just going out one foot after the other. Has that changed? Do you prepare more before you go out, or are you the same person you were when you first started in the sales industry?
It's a good question, and you're 100% correct. Back then, nobody knew anything, right? There was no internet. There was no, if you didn't read the newspaper, you didn't, watch the news, nobody knew anything, right? So, yeah, okay, you know what? They gave me this book. Okay, go knock on 100 doors, and come back, but they sent a manager with you for the first 3 or 4 weeks, if I can remember right. But now in this industry, which I think is so fast moving, and it's so hard sometimes to keep up with everything. Although at PaperTech, again, I think we make it pretty easy, with the partner hub and my PaperTech and relationship managers and our coach and the whole thing. I think that it doesn't hurt to know a little bit, and you can learn a little bit. I mean, Mike Stetzel, that's what he does, right? He brings you on board. He goes through, this is an application all the way through to here are products. But like Danny said, I'm an old school guy, and I'm like, you know what? Get out there and, collect statements. Right? That's what you want to do. You want to walk in there and just say, you know what? I'm really not sure. I don't know if this is my new gig. I'm starting with this company, and I'm not sure, if we can do anything. But you know what? If you let me look at a statement, I'll give you back a free analysis, in a day or two. And our analysis team, by the way, has been turning around statement analysis in less than 24 hours. I'll give them a plug. So yeah, I just think it helps, but I also think that by sitting inside and not getting out there, and like Danny said, you're not going to make any money watching videos. And there's plenty of time to watch the videos on the weekend, in the evenings. But again, set a goal, right? You're not going to watch 30 videos in one night. Watch 5. and then watch 5 the next night, and then 5 the next night, and then 5 the next night. So no, I'm all about getting in front of people and figuring it out as we go.
Well, and I wonder, guys, how much depends on how much competition you're going to come up against. Because if you walk into a room or make a phone call, and when you're asked a question and that person had already asked that exact same question to a competitor of yours, and you were not able to answer it and they were, when you learn that, then you need to know, I would think, what do you guys think? That, hey, I better be able to answer these questions because I'm competing against 5 or 6 other people or 2 or 3 other people all the time, versus making sure that I'm the first person in and I can just build that empathy. If there's more competition, is there more impetus to actually be more knowledgeable when it comes to the industry? What do you think, Danny?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, your competition's going to drive you, right? I do want to say, going back to what Brian was talking about, is that, he's the epitome of this, and built a very successful and a high volume, highly profitable portfolio, knowing a little about a lot, right? And just leaning on back end support teams and for a lot of like the intricate details. So it's all about establishing relationships, and Brian's mastered that. So if any of our partners, anybody that's listening, Brian's just a great person to talk to, that is proof that, you don't have to be a complete expert in every single detail of our business to really be successful, right? You got a huge team, you got a lot of tools and a lot of different ways you can do it. But Nate, I think partners in bigger metropolitan areas, especially where it's more saturated, there's more competition. Yeah, you're going to have to have that leading edge, right? You're going to have to stand out, and and a lot of that's going to be with knowledge and product offerings, right? So you just have to really be able to stand out to those merchants in quite a few different ways. Your competition's going to drive you to be more knowledgeable, but you got to be ready to fail as you're getting started. So jump in, get a little bit dangerous, spend a little bit of time going through some trainings. Head coach Mike, Brian, myself, our entire relationship managers, our management team can help you with that. But don't be afraid to get out there, make some mistakes, and don't be afraid to say, I don't know, let me find out, right? I think that's one of the things that us as salespeople have a hard time doing, is saying those words, I don't know. Because we want to know everything, right? We want to be able to answer right away and close the deal. We don't want anything to cause friction with, or to cause us to have to delay closing a merchant account. But we can't let that get in the way of being transparent, being accurate, and saying those words, I don't know, are actually refreshing in a lot of cases to merchants, because you're going to be able to get back to them with the right answer, and you're not going to fake it.
Yeah, well, and again, speaking from experience, I don't know is a common phrase that I use. However, I think I do a better job of selling myself before I even have to answer that question. Right. Yeah. And what that means is, I'm in there and I'm having a conversation, and we're talking about whatever it is we're talking about. And then once the person, you earn their trust and you're just talking about whatever, and they ask you a question that you don't know the answer to, there's a way to say, I don't know, to where the person, feels a little bit of empathy towards you. And so that competitor that is in there coming in who didn't do that, I think you're ahead of the game. But I just think that there's more to selling than, knowing, too much. I mean, come on. I mean, there's no such thing. So know as much as you can, but you got to get in there and sell yourself and earn the trust. And then again, saying, I don't know, there's a different way to say it than just saying it. I'm not sure. Right. There's a different way to say it than just saying it. And people will respect you for saying it if you say it the right way.
Well, and it comes down to these famous 3 words, I've got a guy. When you don't know something, you just say, I don't have to know that because I have a team that knows that. I have a group of people that know that. And just like anything in our sales world and really the world, it's all about balance. And those who go too far and trying to train aren't going to be as successful and reach the BHAGs that they want to reach. And those who don't do any training and just keep hitting the pavement, they're spinning their wheels all too often and wasting some time. And that's why we do this as a team. And hopefully in fact, I know we do. What we do is we help our partners build incredible portfolios, because we help find that balance together, and it's different for each partner, and we're unique, and we're always doing that. Danny, last question on this. I'm intrigued for you is for those, is there a not a problem, but those who have been in the industry for a long time, can they rely on their past laurels too much? And so they don't train and don't learn what's new and just keep going out. And that becomes something that makes them not as successful as they could be.
Absolutely. We see it all too often, and usually they're left behind, unfortunately. We've got a lot of great partners that I see all the time investing in training and spending time on things like the road shows and other trainings that we'll put on different products and programs just to stay sharp. But we also see a lot of partners that don't do that, and they end up wondering why they're not closing deals and why they're not as competitive. It's something that we see all the time. One of my biggest mentors told me at a certain point, evolve or die. Right. And that rings true to this, right? We've got to stay sharp. We've got to stay, kind of embedded in the changes that are going on in the industry that we're in, whether it's merchant processing or anything else, right? New products, new programs, new pricing structures, new everything, right? New merchants, right? I mean, it's all new, and we got to stay sharp with it. So it's important that ongoing training continues to happen. You gotta keep your ear to the ground. You gotta stay in line with what's happening right now, and make sure you're trained up on it so you can stay sharp.
Well, and that is why we do the High Five twice a week, every Wednesday and Friday, around 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Pacific. And if you're in Hawaii, I'm sorry, you're probably not watching this live. But thank you so much for joining us. As we finish up, I'm going to go to Brian and then to Danny as we do our closing words. It's the 24th. We're coming into the last week of July, summer, in the heat of summer. We're right in the middle of it. We're 1 month full of the true summer. Man, I'm interested. Mr. Brian Linke, coming to you. What do you say to us to inspire us as we go into this weekend?
Well, I'm saying to all our partners out there, I'm telling you right now that we are killing it right now. Okay. I mean, our numbers are better than they've ever been. So if you're a partner with PaperTech right now, I mean, this is an exciting time. I mean, I think I've said this before, but you would think, pandemic and this and that, blah, 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 blah. Okay. It hasn't affected us at all. We're hiring, we're bringing on some really, I mean, obviously, we're only as good as our agents. I say this every single time we go to one of these road shows, but we're obviously bringing on some really good people. And the numbers show it. So, I'm excited to see what the second half of 2020 looks like.
All right. And to you, Mr. Danny Shard.
Yeah, it's good to be back on the High Five and see you guys. Nate, we've missed it. I'm glad we're getting this back going. It's been an amazing July, like Brian said, and just kind of excited to see things. Everything, there's still some uncertainty out there. Some markets are closing, some are opening, some are requiring masks. I've got one right here next to me. But stay positive out there and keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing great. And if you're not, let us help you. Lean on us, reach out to us, and we're excited to keep going.
All right. And on that, guys, this is going to be a great weekend to get out there, get out, see some nature, start strategizing, setting some of those goals. And thank you so much for joining us on the High Five. We look forward to seeing you next week on Wednesday and Friday. We have other content. I have new shows that are starting here next week and the following week. But as we roll this all out, the High Five, the anchor, Brian and Danny and myself, man, we got lots of fun. We love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend, and high five, everybody. The High Five, y'all. See you next week.